Hey everybody, welcome to Blaze. This is going to be a one episode project. I'm going to start it and finish it in the same episode, so it's going to be about 30 minutes long. I'm going to show some bits in real time, slightly sped up even, and then I'm going to fast forward and time lapse some of the bits that get repetitive. So let's just quickly talk about what I'm doing. I'm basically kept seeing pictures of the Wickerman at Alton Towers, which is their new GCI wooden roller coaster. And I just thought it'd be cool to try and do something very similar, kind of make a wooden coaster that follows the terrain, something that's not too high off the ground but still maintains its speed throughout the course. So I thought I'd have a go and give myself a little challenge at doing something like that. So I'm kind of going to start the coaster off kind of very similar to the Wickerman by having the lift hill start off a little bit steeper and then get a bit less steep, and then do the kind of curve around at the top and the drop underneath the lift hill structure. And then the rest of it from there is going to be basically wherever the track kind of takes me. The terrain itself around the ride I'm going to do as I kind of go along, as you'll see me do. But right now I'm just kind of starting off the coaster. I wanted it to be below ground level to begin with, so that the difference in height won't come too high off the actual ground level. So I will lower the ground, the terrain there around the station, so that it is actually visible from a path. So a lot of this kind of thing for me is trial and error. I'm just kind of building track, changing the terrain and seeing what happens along the way. But I thought it'd be a really good idea. It's not really something I've done on the channel, to be honest. I've built a lot of rides, mainly steel coasters, and I use the Gerstlauer, the vertical drop roller coaster, a lot in a lot of my coaster builds, and also the hydraulic launch coaster I use a lot as well. So this is one of the coasters I don't really use that often, because I think they're quite special and you have to have like a certain style with them, otherwise they can be a bit strange. So that is the kind of valley there in the terrain that I'm going to kind of work with, but I'm going to make it a lot less noticeable. I'm going to try and flatten out a lot of the land to make it more gradual rather than these deep valleys. So this project actually started out as me just building the wooden roller coaster, and then as I was kind of building it, I ended up adding a flat ride in, and also like a little area where you can buy food and drink and toilets, etc. So that is not actually in this video, but if you go to my Steam link, which is in the description down below, on my Steam page in the workshop, I have actually put a download of this park, this sandbox park, which does include the coaster, the flat ride, and the little food court kind of area. So if you're interested in that, then hit that download button on Steam. Also, another disclaimer while I think of it and as I'm building, this started off as a no mod project. I've done a couple of them before here. Unfortunately, I kind of failed at the whole no mod thing, and I actually ended up having to use some. So as I get onto that, I will explain what I used and why. But as you can see here, I've just kind of finished roughly laying out the kind of land, how I want it to change. I'm kind of happy with how it is gradually kind of working its way down to the lowest point. So this will change again as I go along, but I'm just going to go in with the rest of the track now in a time lapse and just complete this layout. So this layout took me actually way longer than I'm showing you. I cut out a lot of the footage because what I wanted it to do, it just wasn't happening because of the limitations. But I got around it somehow. So I wanted the drop there to kind of scoop down lower than the ground level, so it kind of used the terrain as an advantage for speed. And then here, I kind of curved this back around, and then I'm going to do like some sort of like a helix and then go back on itself. But originally I wanted it to go, I can't really explain as you're watching it because it makes no sense, but I wanted it to go more kind of back around the curve there that's in the bottom of the screen, and then follow it around and then go back to the end. So it was kind of a longer layout, but the track wouldn't go in between the track where I wanted it to go because there wasn't enough space and that kind of thing. So I've just had to kind of just alter it, make it a little bit shorter than I wanted to. So that's the basic layout done. I'm just gonna go in and change it into the 2 cars so they look like the Millennium Flyer trains that the GCI roller coasters utilize. Gonna just change the colors of the track so it's a bit more that kind of dark wood kind of looking thing. I'm not really keen on the whole bright colored wood coasters. I think they only ever look like that when they're brand new, and then after a few months they go dark. So I'm just gonna go in with that kind of dark looking wood. And then the train, I thought it'd be cool to get it at like a dark turquoise color, something a bit rusticy looking. And I've put the trains onto 12 cars, so they're really long, because in real life those GCI trains are actually quite long. And you can run this coaster on a 2-train service. I found while playing the game in the sandbox mode for a little while that 2 trains is actually too many, to be honest, because the trains never really fill up. So it's easier just to have 1 train and then have a little bit of a queue. But yeah, so that's that done with the trains and the color of the actual wood. So now I'm going to go in and use this mod piece. Now this is like a diagonal sloped pillar from the new Parkitect set from the Steam Workshop. Now this set has actually become one of my favorite mod sets over the last week or so. It's got really a lot of things in there that are really great to use. Now there is a wooden triangular support that comes with the game. That's like a wooden one, kind of similar to what they had in Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. But I don't know, I like building my own. I find it more enjoyable to do my own pieces. So that's why I'm using those. And also with doing my own, I can do a half tile piece and diagonal. Whereas with the in-game ones, it's just 1 whole square big and you can't use them on the diagonal. So that's why I'm basically doing my own. So then I'm gonna go and use pillar here from the actual just pillar set, which comes with the game. So I do this quite a lot for all my wooden roller coasters, to be honest. I do a lot of my own supports. If you watched the series Cedar Fair's Adventure, I built a wooden coaster called Wolf Run, and I basically did the whole thing with my own custom wooden supports. So it does take quite a long time and it is quite tedious sometimes, but if you just do a few here and there, it can look quite cool, and it's worth doing in the long run, because at the end they do look kind of cool. So now I'm going to go in and take a wooden beam from the Shy Guys dining set. I tried using one of the border pieces from the game, but they're just too thick. These look much better and kind of match the actual supports from the ride more. They don't look so different. So I'm just going to go along and just kind of place those at points where it looks like they would be, like kind of, you know, at equal kind of spaces around the structure. I'll do the same for the diagonal pieces as well. So I'm only going to show you, I do this for a bit more of the ride, but I'm just going to show you this kind of area, and then also when I do the footers for the ride as well. I will show you just a small part, and then later on in the episode, when I actually do the rest of the track, I'll really skip it over quite quickly, because I don't see the point in really showing you what I've done already just in another area of the ride. so you get the idea of how I do it. So here I'm using another mod which I thought would be quite a good idea. This is just to make this kind of tunnel using the new path colors and borders set which is on the Steam Workshop. They have these curved pieces which are quite cool and these curved path pieces, and I thought they'd make a really great tunnel on one of the curves of the ride, so that's kind of what I've done there. It'd be cool if there was like tunnels in the game that followed the helixes so that they slope down. Maybe that's something they could add in the future. So I did that on that curve there. I did try and put one on the top of the lift hill on the curve before the drop, but the curve was too great in levels, so the tunnel looked really strange. So now I'm taking one of the shapes. This is the cube. I've made it as small as it can go, made it grey, and I'm basically going to place it on the bottom of every corner of every support along. There's some supports missing here just because I've moved the terrain around, but they will come back when I shut the game and reopen it again. But yeah, so I'm just going to place these footers down on every piece, every support on every corner. And as I said before, I'm not going to show you me doing this on the whole ride because it's very boring. So I'm just going to show you this small curve here at the top of the lift hill and basically the lift hill, and then you get the idea of how I do it, so that I will continue this method throughout the rest of the ride later on. So now wooden roller coasters, when they normally pass underneath itself, the structure has like a steel beam that goes across that area. So I like to use the border piece from the game, make it grey so it looks like metal, and then just kind of place it over anywhere where the track passes over itself. So I do this for all my wooden roller coasters, and it's just kind of finding the best place to put them and where there's not like a track in the way or something. But yeah, I'm just adding a few beams in here just to kind of make it look a bit more supported. But it's just an extra little touch that makes it look a bit more real. So I'm just going to add some rocks now into the side of the hills, and I'm actually going to cover up this last tunnel which goes right underneath the structure before the brake run. So I'm just going to kind of try and cover it all up using these rocks. The rocks can actually be recolored at any color now, which is kind of cool. So I've made them like a dark blackish grey. And then I thought it'd be cool to take this rock structure a bit higher up towards the drop, so it's a bit more interactive. So now I'm going in with a transfer track, brake run kind of thing. I realized once I finished everything that it was maybe one tile too short, but if we're just going to ignore that and just accept it for how it is. But yeah, I'm basically just going to make like an area where the track could slide across and the train could go into a storage area for maintenance or something like that. Just a nice little touch to add. I'm just going to make the square slightly bigger for the footer, and then if I can sink it in the ground, it will stick out ever so slightly. So the design that I do for the transfer track is something that I kind of continue on throughout the rest of the ride. So the station and the maintenance shed all kind of follow the same design. So I'm just going to show you me making the transfer track area, and then you can kind of get the idea of how I built the rest of the buildings, just so that this video is not 3 hours long. So once you've got the idea for what I've kind of done, I just like to skip over the other bits just so it's not so boring for you. Yeah, I'm just going to use these dark browns on these pillars just to add a bit of contrast to the lighter brown on the track. At this moment in building this is kind of trial and error and just seeing what looks good. But I have a rough idea in my head of what I want to do. So I'm using these that dark turquoise again to match the trains in the roof. I thought it'd be nice to have like that kind of, I'm not sure what it is actually, but like that, you know, sometimes the roofs have that dark turquoisey color on the copper. I thought that's the reasoning behind why I've colored the roof that way. It's kind of flat in texture, so you can't really see it very well. I've just used the brick fence there to add like a base to the building. And then add in these wooden pieces, which are from Shy Guys 3 set. They're really cool, I really like these pieces, I use them a lot. Oh yeah, I did some bushes and trees here. I actually got distracted and forgot to press record when I did that. So I have actually missed out quite a lot, and also with the tunnel on the lift hill. But basically what I'm doing now, which is the tunnel on the beginning of the brake run, is the same as the tunnel on the lift hill, using the same pieces rather than, I just use a flat roof rather than a slope roof, but that's basically how I did that. And the trees and the bushes I will do again later with the rest of the ride, so you'll see how I did that as well. But right now I'm just going to quickly put in a queue line. For me, for this, I just wanted it to weave around the coaster, go up and around and under and over, that kind of thing. So I've just skipped ahead a little bit here, and the entrance of the queue line is actually going to be at the bottom here underneath the track. So that kind of marks out where the plaza will be. It's always good to have the path near the exit, and then just kind of build like a small plaza area around the front of the ride there. So I thought I'd just continue that kind of brick fence theme like I had in the brake run around the rest of the ride. So I'm just going to do that around the queue line path. And I really love the bridge I did over the track there with the queue line going over the end of the ride. I think it's like a really cool interactive moment where the queue people that are waiting in line or stood on top of that bridge can see the track. Actually, the first drop goes underneath the bridge, and then the end of the ride goes the other direction underneath the bridge as well. So I thought that was like a cool little interaction moment there. So there's actually like a kind of valley in there where the track kind of comes in and out. And so I'm gonna exaggerate that valley a bit more by using some rocks and plants and stuff and make it like this kind of deep rocked area. So I'm just going to continue with those dark rocks around the base of the structure of the coaster, and then I'm just going to add the trees and bushes around the edges like I did at the top of the ride. So I always just place the bushes in random places, just where I think it looks best. I just kind of eyeball it, to be honest. So I'm using the two different types of bushes because I like the different shades of green, and then I'm going in with a cactus piece just to fill in some little gaps, because also I think that pale green of the cactus just brings a different highlight into the shrubbery. And then go in with that dark browny grey, dark brown green terrain paint colour, and I just kind of go around the edges just to add like a bit of shadow shading to the terrain. I also added in a little river here behind the coaster. It's not really a major feature for the ride, but I just thought a bit of water in the background would look nice when taking some screenshots. So now I'm just going to quickly rush in and do the station using the same kind of technique that I did the brake run with. Just using that brick fence for the base, then I'm going to use the wooden supports to make like a frame for the station, and then use those wooden panels for the walls and that green roof, which is all, the green roof are the in-game roof pieces, they're not from the Shy Guys sets. now I'm going to build like a brick bridge for the queue line going over the end of the ride at the beginning of the lift hill. So I thought this was cool just to, again, add another interaction into the ride. I really wanted this coaster to look like it was close to the ground and weaved in and out of the paths and under and over to give it that really, you know, that small kind of, I feel like looking at the pictures of the Wickerman, that's kind of how it is. There's lots of low valley areas and there's the paths and it's very all interactive and very close to each other. So that's kind of the aim of this project. So now I'm going to do the maintenance shed. So I'm just going to do the one side using the style that I've been using. And in the back side, I'm going to use the tin walls so it looks like a warehouse. So basically this is, the front of this is more of a facade. Just popping a door there on the side for maintenance. I actually found it really difficult to find a door. Took me a while. But yeah, there's basically the maintenance shed area. Really simple, just using the same colors as I've used already and the same pieces. I think it's really good when you're building rides to continue things throughout the ride. So I've used these rocks in other places, so I'm going to use them in some other places, so it all looks like one cohesive thing. And it's the same with the kind of structure pieces I've used for the buildings. You can kind of change up the shades and stuff of the roofs in different colors and things. I think as long as it all matches, it's all good, but I wouldn't start building something completely random with like a yellow roof and using different style walls because I just don't think it would all match in very well. This is just a little shed at the bottom of the lift hill for the chain. And again, whizzing through with some footers there. So now I'm using a path cover from the path cover set just to cover up these paths on the plaza area in front of the ride. I wanted the edges to be smooth rather than be zigzagged. That's why I'm using that mod. And then to get rid of the unwanted automated fences, I'm using the curved wall piece and I'm just placing it underneath ground level where the fence would be, and it actually deletes the fence above. So that you can't see those pieces, but that's why I've done that. Then I'm taking this wooden log pillar from the pillars and I'm basically placing them in the ground on the 8 scale grid. And I'm just doing different heights, making it as a blueprint, and basically this is just a custom fence that I'm going to copy and paste around the edges. And basically I've just skipped ahead there, so I've done them all now, including the diagonals. Just going to add some more shrubbery in there to make it a bit more colourful in greens. Adding some trees. Now I love the trees, you can recolour them to whatever colour you want now. So you could do all the different shades of greens and whatever you want basically. So that it's not just those dark green and the light green. You can have as many greens or even reds and oranges in your trees now in the park. So just adding in some rocks in the rest of the ride so it all matches, like I said before. And then I'm going to use the terra painting again just to go around some of the edges, just to change up the colour of the ground. And the queue line needs a roof where the coaster track is above it, just to, for like a safety thing for the guests, I guess. So now I'm going to go in and do like some theming. Let's add some barrels in. Barrels are always good if you're not sure what to do, just stick them in a corner. And then over here, I'm going to do the main kind of theming thing of the ride, which is like this water tower with some wheels and barrels, and it's going to be on fire, there's dynamite, that kind of thing. So obviously I've named this ride, as you know by the title, it's called Blaze. So there needs to be fire if there's going to be a blaze. So I'm just going to add those fire jets around that little area there where the coaster passes. Add some more barrels. So that is basically the ride somewhat done. I just felt like there should be some more water kind of in this area. It was very kind of like a bare area. Finishing touches with the footers, etc. And then I'm going to show you the coaster just running in a few different angles and a few different shots. But I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And be sure to check out some more of my videos from Cedar Fair's Adventure and my current project, my Parkitect Disneyland. So see you all next time. Bye.